I've been hearing this debate for so long that I think I'm finally ready to tap in, and of course I'm talking about who the new face of the NBA is. Let's face it, guys like LeBron James, Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, and James Harden won't be around for much longer. And that's sad, but now we have to pick a new face of the league. Is it a guy who's already dominating the NBA and in 5 years will still be in championship contention? Or is it one of the newer players who's under the age of 25 and has put the league on notice through their first couple of seasons? I mean, it can even be a guy who hasn't logged a real NBA minute yet, so this debate is really endless. In this video, I'm going to give you my top 10 candidates for who could be the new face of the NBA 5 years from now. I'm going to go through my honorable mentions quick because at the end of the day, they didn't make my list, so here it goes. Just missing the top 10 is Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, Devin Booker, LaMelo Ball, and Zion Williamson. I can already feel the hate coming in the comments for not including these guys, but I'm sorry, it's an exclusive list. Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world right now, but in 5 years, I'd be shocked if he's even talking to the media. He'll still be a great player, but I just don't think he'll be as dominant as he is now, and I don't think that he's going to be the face of the league. And Giannis is of course amazing, but in 5 years, he'll be 35, and I think his play is going to get a bit worse. The other guys are younger, and they could be potential misses on my end, but without further ado, let's get into the top 10. Number 10 might stir up some controversy because I know people have this guy higher, but I have Cooper Flagg. Look, I'm a Duke fan, and I think Flagg will be a great player for years to come, so don't get it twisted, I'm not hating. But at Duke, he changed up his entire demeanor from high school. When I would watch his high school tape, he was the biggest trash talker on every court, and he would let everyone know how good he was. Screaming after dunks, saying crazy stuff to other guys on the court, and putting on a show for socials was like one of his main goals. And then he went to Duke, and his attitude in interviews and on the court was so much different. I bet he still trash talked, but it wasn't on display nearly as much. And in every interview I watch him in, he seems to be mild-mannered. But now that he's in the NBA, I'm going to assume that he keeps that mild-mannered mentality, and at the end of the day, I bet he won't be covered as much as these other guys. I also don't think he'll be this S-tier player that everyone is hoping for, at least not that early into his career. He's going to be a problem on both sides of the ball, so maybe I'm completely wrong, but to me, I think his ceiling is going to be a fringe top 5 player in the league. And that's amazing, but I really don't see him becoming the consensus best player in the NBA like some others do, and because of that, I think he'll be one of the faces of the league, just not number 1. But if you completely disagree, let me know in the comments below. Next up, I have Ja Morant coming in at 9, and this pick scares me a lot. As we all know, Ja has had some off-the-court problems that have hurt his young career so far, and when he does get on the court, he has injury problems much like the guy drafted above him, Zion Williamson. But man, when he's healthy and playing, Morant is a walking highlight reel and sells out the arena in Memphis. He's only 26 years old and has shown flashes of being a top 3 point guard in the league with his elite passing ability and his tendency to punish the rim. I know his shooting is still up in the air, and like I said, some other stuff has kept him off the court, but I honestly think that if he can stay in the baselines, he could be the face of the league. Tyrese Halliburton comes in at number 8, and if you don't think he deserves this spot, I think you need to go back and rewatch this past year's playoff run. Halliburton was a man on a mission. He hit game winner after game winner, and he propelled the Pacers to a finals that no one thought they'd be in. You could say it was a fluke run, but if you do, I'll be covering my ears because the Pacers 100% earned their flowers this season. Hallie is one of the few true point guards left in the NBA, facilitating the ball more than he scores it and making everyone around him better. He can hit the 3 ball even though it looks really weird at times, and even though he's not a top-notch defender, I watched him give it his all in every single playoff game. When he went down in the finals, it was seriously one of the saddest basketball moments I've ever witnessed. I know I just glazed him for a minute there, and after all I said, I bet you're wondering why he isn't higher. Well, to me, I still need to see more from him purely scoring the ball if he wants to climb this list. Don't get me wrong, he's a great scorer, but there are times where he looks limited, and we can't ignore the fact that he had some pretty rough games in the playoffs. Scoring isn't everything, I know, but let's be honest, to be the face of the NBA, you have to be one of those guys that averages 25 plus a night. Steve Nash won 2 MVPs and made everyone around him better, but I wouldn't say he was the face of the league at any point in time. Hallie still has time to up his scoring averages, and if he does, he could easily be the face of the NBA, but for now he falls at number 8. At number 7, I actually have a similar player to Tyrese Halliburton who dishes the ball to everyone, but the main difference is he averaged 26 points this year, and that's Cade Cunningham. Coming out of college, Cade was a polarizing prospect that every team wanted, and when Detroit got their hands on him, I can't imagine how excited they were. Even though his first couple of years in the league weren't groundbreaking, this past season was a breakout year for the 23-year-old. He averaged 26 points to go along with 9 assists, and he finished the year on the All-NBA 3rd team. Cunningham was also an All-Star, and something I didn't even know myself until I made this video was that he finished 7th in MVP voting. He helped the Pistons make it back to the playoffs, and I honestly think this is his new standard. I don't think this was just a fluke year. I will say he does turn the ball over a a little too much. He averaged 4.4 turnovers per game last season. But I honestly think that's because he did so much of the Pistons' ball handling. And I'm sure it'll get better as players like Jaden Ivey and Ron Holland progress. I know he isn't exactly the most outspoken with media, but I think his play will be too good in 5 years to go unnoticed. Moving on, some people might be mad again because my pick for number 6 is actually being debated right now with Cade Cunningham. And I'm sorry, but I have to go with my guy Paolo Banchero being above him. I think this debate is super close, so if you think Cade should be above him, that's cool. But when I watch Paolo play, it reminds me of Carmelo Anthony and an earlier version of LeBron James. I'm not saying Paolo will be LeBron, don't put words in my mouth, but he's shown so much in his first 3 years in the league. He's a force to be reckoned with when driving into the paint, and even though his mid-range has some consistency issues, it still looks smooth enough where I think he'll be able to knock it down more times than not in a couple years. He's a good rebounder, a very good passer for his size, and he's a solid defender even though that's not his job on the Magic. We also can't ignore his ability to perform in the playoffs at such a young age, because through 2 playoff series, Banchero is averaging 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. The downside to Paolo right now is that he has some efficiency questions when it comes to scoring. I'm not ignoring that. But he's only 22, so in 5 years, I think he'll figure out what's best for his game and keep doing it. We have another former Duke Blue Devil at number 5, and I'm pretty sure you could guess who it is. Whether you hate him or love him, you can't deny that Jason Tatum deserves to be on this list. At 27 years old, Tatum already has 6 All-Star appearances, and after this year, he now has 4 straight All-NBA first-team selections. That kind of production is nothing short of legendary, and I didn't even mention that he already has a ring. I get it, Tatum can sometimes be a cornball, but I honestly don't get the hate because he's a hooper, and so far, he hasn't done anything off the court to deserve the hate. All the man does is give out buckets, play with his son Deuce, and consistently win over 50 games in the regular season. I don't mean to glaze, but he doesn't really have any holes in his game. He's a good defender, great athlete, great shooter from the mid-range, and 3-ball. Sometimes he isn't great in the playoffs, I know that. I mean, Jaylen Brown won both the Eastern Conference Finals MVP and the Finals MVP in 2024. But even when his shots aren't falling, Tatum is consistently grabbing boards and dishing the ball to his teammate, so I don't really hold that against him. I was debating between the 4th and 5th spots pretty heavily, but I decided to put Shai Gilgeous-Alexander above Jason Tatum. The main reason I did this is because I believe that the Thunder have more potential to be the NBA's next dynasty after this past season, and that means a lot. I also think Shai's MVP season in 2025 is probably better than any season we've seen from Tatum. People get mad that Shai tends to foul bait, and I think it's reasonable to be annoyed, but at the end of the day, he's just a bucket man. His mid-range jumper is one of the best I've ever seen, and getting to the rim is effortless for him. I think he'll be in MVP discussions for the next couple of years, and in 5 years, he'll be 32, so I still think he'll be dominating the NBA. So if he's winning championships, claiming all types of awards, and still putting up the numbers he is now, I don't see a reason why Shai wouldn't be one of the next faces of the league. A guy who I bet you all expect to be number 1 actually falls to number 3 on my list, and that's Victor Wembanyama. Look, in 5 years, he could easily be the best player in the NBA. It's not crazy to say that Wemby could be the best defender in NBA history when he retires. And his offensive game is alien-like. I mean, he dunks the ball like Michael Jordan from Space Jam, and then he casually pulls up from 30 feet and drains it. And when you have a 21-year-old professional athlete who everyone agrees can be a top 5 player ever when it's all said and done, you know you're watching something special. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't think he'll be the number 1 undisputed face of the league in 5 years' time. I will say this, I think everyone in the top 3 can share the title of face of the league, but I honestly don't see Wemby having the title alone. I think it's a very similar situation as Shohei Ohtani in the MLB. He's a guy who doesn't address the media much and tends to keep to himself, but everyone knows that he's one of, if not the best player in the sport. Some people might say Ohtani is the sole face of the MLB, but I've also heard arguments for guys like Aaron Judge, and that's how I think it will be with Wemby in 5 years. If you guys think that comparison is awful, just let me know in the comments down below. But for example, I think he'll share the spotlight with number 2 on my list, and that's Anthony Edwards. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but in my opinion, I think Ant has already put together the strongest campaign to be future face of the league. At only 24 years old, he's beaten multiple legends in the playoffs while trash-talking them like he was at the YMCA. And he's already led the T-Wolves to deep playoff runs, which shows me that he's capable of helping a team win. He's a guy who gives it his all on both ends of the floor, and on offense, he's an absolute menace to the NBA. He hits the 3-ball at a great clip, and he already has some of the best poster dunks in NBA history. So I have no doubt that in 5 years, he'll be doing the same thing. I put him above Wemby not because I think he'll definitely be a better and more valuable player, but he just has that swag that NBA media loves. He trash talks anybody from fans to Kevin Durant, and his confidence is always at an all-time high. Pair that with his basketball ability, and I think you have a guy who can market the NBA for years to come. But taking over the number 1 spot on the new faces of the NBA list, I have the man Luka Doncic. I think people forget that as of right now, Luka is only 26 years old. Since his second season in the NBA, he hasn't averaged less than 27 points a game, and this includes 5 straight first-team team All-NBA selection at 26 years old. He's had the NBA in a chokehold since being drafted, and now that he's playing in one of the NBA's biggest markets, I can't see him falling out of the spotlight anytime soon. He does have some flaws in his game, such as his effort on defense, and I do think he holds the ball too long sometimes, even though I will admit he's one of the better passers in the NBA. But on offense in general, he's simply showtime. So if you mix his abilities on offense with the fact that he's now on the Lakers, I think he's a pretty great choice to be the new face of the league. Obviously, this list can change up, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if a guy who wasn't even drafted yet cracked the top 10, like AJ DeBanza or Darren Peterson. But from what the league shows today, that's what I came up with. Let me know what you guys think.